Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Betty from Switch and Click, and today I'll be reviewing one of my favorite 65% keyboards of all time. In fact, it was the #1 recommendation in our best 65 mechanical keyboards of 2020 video. You can check that out right here if you want to, and then jump back into this video for the in-depth review. Anyways, let's jump into the video. All right, this is our #1 recommendation, the Varmilo x Ducky Miya Pro. And we actually got the Mac edition. I know I don't actually use a Mac, but I thought the white looked really cool with the white backlight. This keyboard usually retails for about $110 to about $140, depending on what colorway you're looking for on mechanicalkeyboards.com. And you can use our code Switch and Click on that site. This keyboard is raved on by many YouTubers, including the Techni, one of my favorites. I think he's reviewed like 6 of these so far, so it's pretty crazy. But I've been in love with pretty much all of Varmilo's products. And this one, I have to say, is my favorite because it has a lot of the updated features and the perfect layout that their other boards don't have. Anyways, we're gonna jump into what's in the box. All right, so first let's cover the box itself. It's all white. It has the Varmilo logo on it and their slogan, which is Keyboard Artist, which is what they try to make with their boards, which is art. Something nice to look at, something that's pretty, including their other colorways where there's a lot more artistic endeavors. Inside, you get the board, of course, and this is the star of the show, so we'll talk about that a lot later. You also get a plastic dust cover, and it fits the board really nicely, and everything fits perfectly without any gapping at all. But I tend not to use these. I really should, but they just look so silly on your desk when you put them to the side in the daytime. It also comes with a caps lock piece, and all of Varmilo's boards come with these caps lock or scroll lock or whatever. And this is if you want the caps lock indicator to be able to emit its light, and that's what this hole is for. You can use that if you want, but I personally don't because I switch caps lock and control, and that would make things really sort of awkward. It also comes with a matching colored USB-C cable depending on the colorway of the board that you get. But this one matches with white. It's fairly long, it's rubber. It has these little port protectors here that you're probably gonna lose in the future. And I did say that right, it is USB-C, unlike other Varmilo boards, which happen to be mini USB instead. You also get a manual that's pretty important to read. It's in different languages, and you just jump straight into the middle to get it in English. It explains pretty much all of the secondary functions, the backlight, all those things. Alongside that, you get a wired keycap puller as well, but this one is a sort of crystal light blue. We've gotten them in black, we've gotten them in red, so a lot of Varmilo boards with a lot of different color ranges that will just give you different colored accessories. So that's what's in the box. It's time to jump into build quality and design. We always start at the back here at Switch and Click, and on the back you see that it has 4 rubber feet that are pretty small, but they stand out quite nicely. It also has 2 kickstands of 1 angle each, and one thing I have about this is that these rubber pads on the bottom of these kick-up feet tend to slide off fairly easily. So make sure if you want that to be permanently fixed, just glue them on or something. But plenty of rubber feet here to prevent your keyboard from moving in those intense situations. Not that I have any though, my keyboard's just resting on the table all the time, but plenty of feet to prevent that. It also has a plate on the back telling you what keyboard model you got and all that good stuff. On the top right here, there's the USB-C port, and although it looks slightly recessed, it's going to fit the majority of your cables because the space here is pretty big. From the side, you'll see that there are no floating keycaps at all, and everything is quite clean. I actually really like these brick kind of looking keyboards, especially when it comes to stock keyboards. When it comes to a custom, I definitely prefer some more design elements and some more cutouts and things like that. But for a stock keyboard, it's looking good. Onto the layout. So this is a 65% keyboard. And one of the things that makes it really unique is that it has a full-size right shift. and a full-size bottom row as well. So you're not going to have to be searching the entire world for different keycaps that's gonna fit this exact layout. And it also has a blocker that separates the arrow keys from the rest of the board, as well as a blocker that separates the nav cluster that has 4 keys from the arrow keys and things like that. So although it is slightly longer than a regular 65% board by 1 row, which isn't a ton, it is longer though, so that's more noticeable. It comes with its benefits for sure. So one of the things that made this really awkward for my setup is that the USB-C port is on the right, and I'm so used to them being on the left that I routed my cable to go onto the left. And now when I use this board, it sort of crosses my table awkwardly and then ends up in the board. So I can't use this board while I'm standing up because my cable's not long enough. But if I'm sitting down, I can plug this in, but it's just not as aesthetic looking as it could be. All right, so we'll move on to the keycaps next, and this is entirely in white PBT keycaps with black legends as well as sub-legends that are side printed. And overall, it just looks really aesthetic. I had a difficult time figuring out what profile this is, but in the end, I decided that it's OEM profile. However, the tops of the keycaps are a lot more flat than what I'm used to seeing, but I think it looks super clean. The legends are a bit small for the size of the keycap itself, but the contrast is so high that it just makes it super easy to see, even in dim light or in the dark. This does have white backlight, and you can adjust that with FN and the up or down arrows. It has 2 effects, and that is the breathing and the static, like in other Varmilo boards. I prefer static and at a very dim light. If it's too high of a brightness, there is some bleed that happens through the keycaps, despite the keycaps being fairly thick. It's just not that good looking with super white backlight or super bright backlight. Alongside that, there are really small divots on F and J so that you can home yourself to the homing row. And since this is the Mac version, the default legends are the Mac keys. So on the bottom row, you got Control, Option, Command, and Command FN Control. And instead of the backspace, you got the delete. So that's what the Mac layout looks like when it comes to a standard bottom row. I know on MacBooks, the FN's like in a completely weird place, but this is still a computer that you can use with Windows PCs. So it does have the Windows sub-legends printed on the side. So you got Control, Windows, Alt, and then Alt FN Control on the right side. And you can see all of that on the side print, which is really easy to see when you're typing from the regular visibility. On the top row, you got the numbers, and then the function row is right on that as well, and you can access those via FN and 1 through plus. On a Mac, it's going to use the function on the Mac. So if you press F1, it's going to be decrease in brightness and things like that. You can access your tilde key on escape, and you have your print screen, scroll lock, pause, home, end, and all that on the cluster around JK, L, and comma that you can access via FN as well. So this keyboard pretty much does it all. Unless you really need the function row, then I would go for this. If you're gonna buy one keyboard and be done with it, like this is the one, and you'll see why coming up. And I say that a lot about Varmilo boards. I think it's not a specific size or a specific layout for them. It's the overall build quality and how much care they put into their boards and how long they're gonna last and their permanence with the soldered switches. Instead of being hot swappable, which leads to a feeling of fleetingness, if that makes any sense. Onto the switches. So the switches that we got are Cherry MX Browns, and they're okay. They're pleasant to type on. I actually like Cherry MX Browns despite what a lot of people think. This keyboard offers a variety of Cherry MX switches, including the speed silvers, silent reds, and blacks and clears. So all of the strange ones that aren't part of the regular red, blue, brown trio. And alongside that, if you buy from the Varmilo end, I think you can also get them in the ECV2 switches, the Sakura, I don't remember their names. They're also available in that switch lineup as well, but I can't really find that on mechanicalkeyboards.com at this time. But I know they're available, except they're called like VA68M or something instead of the Miya Pro. The stabilizers are really nothing to complain about at all. You'll see later in the sound test that they are just pretty much perfect. Like all Varmilo stabilizers, they are pre-lubed from the factory, pre-lubed with intense care and attention to detail, unlike some other companies that we we've seen as well. And the best part is the space bar. It's one of my favorite parts of having a Varmilo board is the space bar is clean. There's virtually no rattle on any part of the space bar. Wherever you press, there's no ticking or clicking or any of that additional sound. Another feature that you can do is you can bring the function row to the very top as a default layer so that when you press 1, it's F1 and etc. By pressing FN and page down, that brings the function row up. Pressing FN and page up brings the number row back up to the default position. You can also switch the function of left control and caps lock by holding FN and the left control. And you can also switch the function of the left windows and the FN key as well by holding FN and left windows, of course. And you can also switch between Windows mode and Mac mode. You hold FN and A, that's Mac, FN and S, that's Windows. So that changes the function row and whatever it does in your respective operating system. We're gonna listen to the sound test right now. All right, that was a sound test. It sounded wonderfully beautiful. If you don't like the weird rattling sounds, then go for a linear switch or the silent switches. Those sound really nice. The tactility of the browns definitely give it a little bit additional sounds there, but onto the verdict. So what's the verdict on the Ducky X Varmilo Miya Pro? It's another one of those boards where if I had to give it a rating out of 5 stars, I would literally give it a 5 out of 5. This and the VA87M are just amazing keyboards. If I wasn't a reviewer of keyboards and I just had to buy a keyboard, Varmilo would be it for me and I would move on and be done with it. Unfortunately, I have to cycle through a bunch of boards and test them because we review keyboards. But I'm gonna be honest with you, a large part of me reviews keyboards and just thinks, what am I doing with all these boards? There's just so many of them. But I'm really anti-consumerism like that, and I believe in sustainability and low waste and all those things, and doing this kind of business, I struggle with it a little bit sometimes, but it just is what it is. I'm here to be honest with you and really help you make these consumer decisions, and I want you to get something that you'll be happy with, that you know the quality is there, that's gonna last you and feel good and sound good. And the Ducky Miya Pro is definitely a winner. There's a reason that it's #1 in our best 65% mechanical keyboards of 2020. It's just that good. There's so many switches that you can pick from. If you don't know what switch you want, then I would say go look at a hot swappable board. But if you do know what kind of switch you want, then I would say get this, use it, love it, move on, and not spend thousands and thousands of dollars in the mechanical keyboard hobby, because that, gets a little bit crazy. So this board is not for mechanical keyboard enthusiasts who want to someday build a mechanical keyboard or be in the hobby and keep purchasing and consuming things. It's for people who want a high quality mechanical keyboard that's 65% or 80% if they want to go the TKL route. They have that too. But 65% here, one and done, high quality, just get it and move on. Go to audio, go to mice, whatever. There's different colorways. There's like green and red and blue and all those things, and they're all very pretty. I picked white because it's clean and simple. So the link to this Mac version will be down below. There's also a ton of other different versions that you can look at on mechanicalkeyboards.com. Varmilo also has a bunch of options on their website as well if you want to check that out. And then if you want to support Switch and Click on mechanicalkeyboards.com, use the code Switch and Click on checkout, and be sure to leave me some love because I like to read all those comments. Even though I can't reply back to them, it's still pretty sweet to read. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!